This day 1595 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. This week's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is being sponsored by Rabbi Yonasan Ezra ben Chana Feigl for a schus for Gemar Chasim Tova, and he should have a tremendously successful year. B'chol she'yifnei yatzliach. Today we are doing Yerideh Siman Shin Chof Tes Sif Yud to Yud Ches. Yud v'nei dasram etzleinu kol minei ma'afeh afiyah. That actually means we'll finish the siman. According to Rambam Bias, all types of cooked goods, baked goods, kalekach, the tort, yishari meaning medayin chayim b'chala, they chayim b'chala kshesh b'mshir. They have the proper measure. The day like up to rak b'afiyah b'chama b'koli. The only exception for him is when it's baked in the sun or it's toasted. We don't bake at all in the sun, at least in Russia. We don't toast stuff. Cereals are toasted. I think the only very few cereals are actually bread-like. I think this came up, comes out of Translation Tshuva when Pas Yisrael is the minhag. I think like grape nuts is baked like a loaf of bread. There are very few which are like that. Most of them are toasted. Or all types of fried dough, which you obviously which you put in the soup, but in the chicken soup, but ones which are fried in butter, ublintzes, v'teichats, upumpiskes, velakis. They're kneaded, and they're baked in either flat pans or deep dishes. And he also doesn't know the distinction between where it's a soft batter or a thick batter or a thin batter. Whether it's water or other beverages you put inside. There's only the only exception when you cook, when you need a dough for cooking, like noodles or farfel or kreplach musholim or cooked kreplach. And even these, it's only specifically mind to begin with to cook them. But if you had a mind to bake them, and then you change your mind to cook them, or vice versa, you had a mind to cook them, then change your mind to bake them. This is what he writes. If you need a dough in order to make it in the sun, and you completed it to make it bread, or you began it in order to make it bread, you began to finish in the sun, and so to toast that you need in order to make it bread, this is also true, obviously, when you're cooking it in a pot. They all have the same halacha, we call them like we wrote previously. But that's what I don't understand the Rambam. And the Yushan that pleading Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, they argue Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish Chai b'chal v'rechel avamotzi. They say the Chavasa Pesach. Rabbi Yochanan says it's Chai v'chala. And you make a motzi and you put your yotzi in Pesach. Shlosh mar ein chai b'chal, it's b'gzeh b'chala. V'yin v'rechel avamotzi, you don't make a motzi, you ain't the b'chula, you don't yotzi in Pesach. Okay, the Pesach b'chal Rabbi Yochanan. So if you pass like challah, that you're yotze that these things are chayiv and challah, so then you should make also have a live so gama moitzi. Yes, they call us matzah. That all across the board it should be Rabbi Yochanan. But perkim the brachas in test because of isha nefes bekarka, a dough which is baked in the ground. Chulei v'arbaim name is onus. So to a dough which is kneaded with oil or bidvash or honey or chalav or milk or shir bab meitavin or put in spices. Chulei v'arbaim in azonis. Hakalashana. Perak v'ad chametz matzah pasad itzan lo shebiyayin v'shem dvash. A dough which is kneaded with wine or oil or honey or milk. You don't fulfill the obligation of matzah and sham. So you have to say, since the argument says if it's baked in the ground. V'shalmi and Pasababa Kisnin, and there in terms of the Pasababa Kisnin, whatever that means. Ein Borach HaMotzi, don't make HaMotzi. Chen Baruch Tzvach, Himself, Rabbi Akiva, Nisa, Losha, Piam Shed Rashi, Eitzim Ba. Rabbi Akiva says, dough which is kneaded with wine, with oil, and with honey, you don't fulfill matzah. Pasakem Loshgech Yushalmi. They passed him and didn't care about the Yushalmi. Amir Kopan, Echre, Ashas Dilan, Ein, Alach Rabbi Yochanan, Bevrach HaMatzah, Kresh Lakish. Our Shas Paskins, not Rabbi Yochanan, but like Reish Lakish, in terms of motzi and they make him zonos, and that you're not Yotzei matzah. He came in the Rambam, we saw Rabbi Yochanan b'chala, but that's the case. Why do Rambam pass Rabbi Yochanan b'chala? Since arguing three things, two of them looks like Reish Lakish, some got much Shlish Lakim also. The third thing should also be like Reish Lakish. How can you draw a distinction? If you go to say it's because in our Shas also argue about Chala, come below in the Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, they both link these three topics together: Chala, Matzah, and the bracha. You gotta say 2 out of 3 those are shlokish, then the third one also be shlokish. Turkin. Not clear what to do with the Rambam. Yud base. Torah Shulchan Aruch tzrichen beer. Torah Shulchan Aruch required, and also the explanation. Shekasa they wrote, Ein chiv chal belechem. There's no obligation of chal, but only by bread. Because sufganim, therefore it's sufgan, which we call today donuts. Then raki masim kasvok. The stuff made like sponges. Vadu shanim. Then these honey cakes are skritin. Also fried in honey. A dough which is of thin batter, you baked it in an oven or machlas or in a pan. Whether you first heat it up and then put in the dough. Whether you first put in the dough and then heat it up. All this is Torah Shulchan Aruch. As long as there's no beverage involved. A dough which has a thick consistency. You rolled it with the intent of cooking it, or frying it, to make it donuts, or to dry it in the sun. Did all those things, any of these things, Patura, it's exempt. If you had you need it or to make bread, then you change the mind of to cook it, or fry it, or make it donuts, or to dry in the sun. Was where you came at the time you made the dough. If you rolled it and intended making donuts, etc. And then you change your mind to make it bread. Also, chayeves it's chayev v'chalak halashon. You know, that would show the exemption by the donuts and the honey cakes. Even though their batter is not thick like a bread batter, a very thin consistency. Doesn't have to do with that much. Like they were adding themselves. After it's if you have a dough which has a thick consistency, and it was rolled with the intent of cooking it or frying it, so it's going to make it a sponge. Patura. Doesn't matter the consistency. It's explicit that even if it's thick, that's the lachem, but not seen up. There's not considered to be a chalei shem bread. According to this lekach with torture, kicking and dakin, and thin cakes, so anything fried in butter, so it's krepach which is fried in butter. Certainly krepach which you make by cooking. Ublintzes, v'teichas, v'latkes, puskas, peturin v'chala the obig sem v'chala. They wrote that if you have a thick consistency though, and you rolled it in order to cook it or fry it, that's because it's the type of that's a statement. It's not a question. Next that what you said with a thin batter dough that you baked in the oven or in the pan, it's chayiv. That's when they remain that way. When you made it with the intent to fry it or to cook it, turn exempt. Rambam says that either intent or actually doing it One of them is sufficient to make a chaim challah. Mi bishul Rambam motek, which is brought by bishul Rambam, also concedes that it is possible from challah. Tes vav. V'heina mesh that's a time b'isur b'losa ava. It's true that a bit times opinions with dough, which is a thick consistency. But so that's the vasher he made it with the intent of cooking it. Or time the fry chayeves it's chayk much kosa to b'shmor and sham. Pisa osa isa laksin. So therefore some last laksin. So he makes the dough for noodles. So the farful chay b'chav is chay b'chav. Shemad she's becomes machmir b'safrish l'bracha. And we'll take off challah from noodle dough or farfel dough without a bracha. Because that the aim of Asot's kimchi time, you should not do this for two reasons. Challah, first of all, the Rov Rabbis say most of the rabbis are arguing. Like the Rash says, for the furthermore, I feel that's a bit of time. It's only by water dough. Avo bebeitzim, but if it's egg dough, Moshe Amina gets saying like our custom. Yesh lanu das Yerushalmi. We have the opinion Yerushalmi. These shomeis prim yachal. That's a dough made with fruit juice. Exam b'chala. Ve'en lachem yechumis. He says b'chala. The ikar the rabbanon chutz laretz. And we should not be machmir over the top with chala because the chutz laretz anyway it's the rabbanon. As he says back, it's kein zati. Avo belekach das a rabban kein l'chiyuva. Lekach the rabban holds it is obligated. Kein meblinskis. But that's what we're saying. Okay, most rabbis not hold that way. Saying that our rabbis or Muslims did not bring the Rambam. Below that's the time not every time. Came lom alone lachmir b'chalas chutzlarts. To go about why we make chalas chutzlarts is primarily rabbanon. Came minutes we make all these things. I don't know better Eretz Yisrael. But in Eretz Yisrael, it's even though it's still it's the rabbanon, but he calls the Raiso. He's not addressing that. Tezai. Orkasu Sif Tala. You also want to see that. Also saw that's about Yitzba. You make him with the intent of cooking it, etc. Im dato, if its intent is left at to make a little bit of it, if you baked it, even that amount which you baked doesn't have a shirchal kulum. That's nothing you have the whole thing. I can't show. Chemashi Ushalmi Shalom seems to be in the case of Ushalmi. Chashir Shemi Malachal Kul are afraid you might come to change your mind about the whole thing. Because so Rash you have fish bracha, you can take over the bracha. It's a shach. Here's some say I feel lawful I even if you haven't yet baked anything. And Nimlach Milah Fosik says he decided to bake something. Kula Mitzcheva says it's nothing you have the entire batter in challah. It's a bach and a shach. Koko nevertheless Yizoy Sheyafa Menawat. You gotta bake a little bit. And you have to be careful to bake a little bit. And you have so you put that which is baked next to the dough. Some say the body in Mitchias Alisha Sokam Russell Lefosi in a man. Kula says that though. Some say if the Chatchila initially had in mind to bake even part of it, then the entire thing is Chaim and Challah because that baked part. But initially had in mind to cook. Then changed his mind to bake a little bit of it. There's no actual obligation according to strict letter of law. Unless he bakes first. Okay, because if you're there in this case, you should not take challah before you bake. Yudzayin. Odkasu the trisa. They wrote trisa zayin isa shiblosa raka. It's a dough with soft consistency. The shofchen also you pour it on the stove, especially and it expands on the stove and in that face and it gets baked. It's like a pancake. To its extent, aviyesh bakira guma. But if in the stove there is a indentation, and you spill that batter inside that indentation, choshev lechem. That's the bread v'chayev. That's a big kiddush. That's whether it gathers together or not. Ubatik shovin also b'shpod if you have a dough which you bake on a skewer. Umoshe also b'shemini and you anoint it with oil or b'beitz or eggs or made peros or with other fruit beverages. Part to examine kind of shuttle. We don't have these things in our places. Somebody who makes the dough just to dry it in the sun. It's exempt. So it's supposed to, if it's after when the sun, they bake it. So to toast the luscious of a mine, which you need in water, or honey, and eat it without baking it, but it's exempt. We take the toasted flour and if the toasted flour was needed in order to bake it, chayav. Lechem Masir Kutach, bread which is made for kutach, that was the extremely sour yogurt. Masam Muchim Alav, the way it's made indicates it's not real bread, it's not chayim and challah. So ka'achin, made a ka'achin danu she'orku so b'tzuas lechem, you actually set it and made it in the form of bread, chayim and chayim, if not potter. Dough which is kneaded with boiling water. You put the boiling water on top of the flour. Or you put the flour inside the boiling water. Below mashkin, or if it's baked in an oven or in a pan. It's a pot actually, without beverages. We don't know what it's all about. Okay, we'll stop here for today because we finished Shin Chavtes Yud Ches.